Episode 782. The three clerics sprang into action, rushing to support the fourth tank, all in the blink of an eye. Their positioning was meant to blanket the entire battlefield with their skills, especially covering all the tanks. With this timely assist, the four tanks recovered quickly. As for Invincible the Most Handsome, he didn't run into any trouble just because he suddenly lost his caretaker. Among Glory's various stat trackers, there were also lists for healing dealt and healing received. A newcomer was flipping through the healing charts and noticed that the amount of healing Invincible Handsome had received was roughly the same as the other three tanking knights, actually a bit lower. After all, Invincible Most Handsome's gear was far worse than those three's. The damage the stone statue dealt to him was on a completely different scale from what it did to the others. And now, Invincible Style's healing output was slightly lower than theirs, which meant he'd been hit far fewer times. His constant dodging was paying off, making up for his subpar gear. But this pace wasn't enough to take down the stone statue before it was too late. Overall, the knight's health was still ticking down. Otherwise, would the team members really need to make such a big fuss over activating 4 stone statues at once? Now, the whole point of holding out this long was to wait for Wudi Zui Junlang's Night Spirit to finish its cooldown, then use the effects of Valiant Charge to gather the monsters, leveraging that powerful control to achieve the goal of killing multiple enemies at once. But Invincible's charge was an arc charge, and that was where the real suspense lay. The problem was exactly what Invincible Most Handsome had analyzed for 7-leaf flower before, and now, the success or failure of this entire dungeon run was riding on that one incredibly suspenseful maneuver. Those who understood this were now gripped by an intense tension. How long was the cooldown on Night Spirit? The data was public, after all. Any attentive player would have it memorized. At that moment, more than a few players were silently counting down in their heads. Yi Shu wasn't the only one. Many were lost in the same mental calculation, when suddenly, right in the middle of their anticipation, a voice cut through.
Watch your positioning. Watch your positioning. My Night Spirit cooldown is almost up.
7-leaf One Flower glanced at Invincible Most Handsome's position, then immediately led the stone golem she had aggro under control into formation. The other knights hadn't thought much of Invincible at first. But now, Wudi Zuijun Lang, wearing gear far inferior to theirs, had accomplished the same feats and even surpassed them. This fact meant the knights could test Invincible Most Handsome, but they could no longer underestimate him. Seeing that even the 7-leaf flower, whom they trusted so deeply, was genuinely convinced by Invincible Handsome, the knights found themselves with nothing left to say. After all, 7-leaf flower had always been the knight they trusted most, and if even someone they trusted that much was completely convinced, well, what more could they possibly say? 7-leaf flower was a nice guy, sure, but even a nice guy wouldn't stoop to kowtowing to some clueless newbie. So at this point, T3 and T4 saw 7-leaf One Flower already following Invincible Chad's instructions. Though a bit reluctant, they still pulled the stone statue and started moving into position.
Good. Perfect timing. Hold steady, don't move.
Watching the three of them move, Invincible Most Handsome suddenly let out a shout. 7-leaf One Flower had been working hard to improve her technique. When she heard Wudi Zui Junlang's shout, she glanced left and right, then immediately asked, puzzled.
Still a ways off, wouldn't you say?
You three are good to go. I'll make the move.
Invincible and Handsome shouted, but then he actively adjusted to match the three others' current positions. In the end, the 4 knights stood apart from one another, yet all 4 of their summoned stone statues were aligned in a single straight line. A holy white light of chivalry finally radiated from Invincible Handsome. Here it comes! And with that, he charged. With the positions already set, there was no need for a curved charge. They lined up and hit it straight, 4 impacts in quick succession, and the 4 stone statues were slammed together, just like the Blade Masters before them. This time, the DPS players were already on point. The moment the 4 stone statues crashed into the platform, All lopsided and stumbling, everyone struck in unison. No need to hold back, no fear of pulling OT. Because this strategy doesn't control aggro, it controls the field. It uses the skill effects of a continuous attack chain to lock the target in a state where it can't fight back. In this state, aggro didn't matter at all. After a fair and heroic leap landed, Invincible Most Handsome pulled out another stone statue as usual. Behind him, the cooldown timers for Knight's Spirit on 7-Leaf Flower and the other knights had just aligned perfectly. They were already lined up, ready to charge one by one and then use Heroic Leap again. Timing wasn't hard to master. The cooldown of Knight's Spirit became the most precise clock for their coordination. It was all just repetition. And compared to the first time, everyone had now fully grasped the concept mentally. The execution wasn't perfect, but it was definitely a lot stronger than before. At that moment, while Invincible Most Handsome was single-handedly tanking a stone statue, another crowd of clerics swarmed in to attend to him. The first time, they hadn't known what to expect, but now that they'd seen Invincible Most Handsome compensate for his gear with pure skill, none of the clerics were worried anymore. So they relaxed, and Invincible Most Handsome relaxed too, no longer dodging with the same focus as before, switching back to the most basic tank and spank style. However, because Invincible Most Handsome's low-tier gear forced the clerics back into a state of high alert, they quickly grew tense again. This back and forth had them so frustrated they just wanted to bang their heads against the wall. But now, Invincible Most Handsome had already shown everyone his absolutely stellar MT skills, so they didn't dare slack off. Besides, they all knew that kind of tanking took serious micromanagement. It was exhausting. You pull it out for the clutch moments, save your energy when you don't need it. That's only fair. So the clerics went all out, and even with Invincible Most Handsome standing still, there was no real danger. The other knights and DPS were getting more and more coordinated, clearly boosting their output. This wave of 4 stone statues went down even faster than the last. At least Invincible Most Handsome didn't have to resort to his roar skill this time.